On to this now. A brand new book by Dr. Ntsikelelo Ndesi titled Dreamcatcher has hit the shelves. It's an inspirational true story about the power of your dreams and how living honestly is still the best route to meaningful accomplishments. Ndesi joins me now from Cape Town for more. And this is the cover of your book. That must be quite unreal after putting so much into telling your story. Dr. Ndesi, thank you so much for joining us. And here it is, Ntsikelello's Dreamcatcher. That's the name of the book, and I'm holding it up there now for everybody to see. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Your story is one that I feel many people would be able to relate to, but not everybody feels that they have the time or the inclination to put pen to paper to put that story down. What made you decide that it was time to tell your story in book form?
Good evening, Marcelle, and good evening to your viewers. And a happy Heritage Day to everyone at home. Marcelle, I can begin by saying that coming from a disadvantaged area, it has actually inspired me looking at my parents, my teachers, and the community around that we all have stories to tell. And my story can actually change someone else's life and inspire someone else's life by just reading what I went through, because we always presume that once we see someone accomplish something, no matter how small it is, we tend to presume that there hasn't been any hiccups or challenges behind that, which is often unreal. So I thought, from what I went through, I needed to put it down and actually lay down the message that it is possible for everyone.
Mm-hmm. You spend a lot of time talking about the impact of your parents, who really, the values that they instilled in you were the cornerstones, or what set you up for the rest of the challenges that you faced and met. Tell us about your relationship with them.
It was a wonderful and a loving one. I can happily say that my father, he often stopped calling me Ntsikelelo. He was referring to me as Star. That was my nickname growing up as a boy. He used to call me, "Hey, Star." So we sort of created a relationship whereby now you can speak at a level where sometimes you forget that this is your father or this is your mother. So growing up in that environment actually made me, I looked up to him and my parents as a hero, actually, because mostly one would notice on the book that I sort of detailed on his challenges and his struggle in trying to ensure that he empowered us, and by simply instilling that knowledge power. There's nothing beyond that.
They must be quite proud of everything that you've achieved in your life so far.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. They are super proud, except that he passed on in 2019 while I was busy trying to put this together for him to speak. There is a dedication page on that book after I almost finished it that I actually made it down, and then it actually pushed me to get this out. It pushed me to get this out so that I can actually, it's not about only for my personal reason. It's actually to appreciate the little that they do as parents that we don't often take into consideration, that they are actually struggling. With my father, as a young man, around 18 or 12 years old, he would bring us in and discuss issues about what he wants to do, issues that would affect us in the long run. So I took that into consideration, that he sees us as part of his decision making for whatever he was about to take in life. And that is why I respect them so much.
Now, you come from the rural villages around Mthatha. You made your way to university, but along with so many challenges that comes with being thrust into the hustle and bustle of a first year at university, when you come from a background such as yours, you also suffered from eczema, and that prevented you from having what would be considered a normal first year at university. Tell us about that challenge and what kind of impact it had on you at such a young and impressionable age.
Marcelle, people often say that things happen for a reason. I am not sure why at that particular moment in time where I had to be attacked by eczema like that. As we sometimes know that the causes are really unknown. It's mostly genetic and environmental. At that particular time, I hadn't changed the environment, but it did had a huge impact on the decision that I had to take at that year. First, it was that took almost a year to resolve, and then it was my father who lost his job at that particular time, and those two factors that prevented me from enrolling at the university at that particular time. And such things, they can throw you off. You lose hope. You sort of look for other means, which sometimes are not fruitful as we think.
Now, the story that you tell of your years at university is something that many would be able to relate to. We hear every year about the large number of first university goers, the first in many families in South Africa to go to tertiary education, and the big pressure that that comes with from your family, financially, but also emotionally, and the expectation from the families that you're going to be the first to go to university and you're going to change the trajectory of your family. That is massive for anybody to carry, but especially when you're at such a young age. How did you cope with that added pressure?
Well, it is a massive pressure, as you mentioned, because one, there's this disadvantage that, first of all, you don't have that luxury of failing. That's one. One, there's no money. Let us put it out right that for me, I had only a registration fee when I went to varsity. I had thought and I had hoped and prayed that the rest I will get it there. I know there's NSFAS, which often did a lot of heavy lifting in terms of my studies at the varsity. So that is usually a pressure that a student, a young mind doesn't need. The principle of being there is for you to get knowledge, concentrate, get your grades, and get the final result, which is the degree. But when you are there and stressing about what are you going to eat and the pair of shoes that you have is running out, so those things, they add a lot of pressure. And you look at home and how your family is coping, because the little that they have, they will try and derive and channel it towards you. Now, it's an amount of pressure that no young mind needs in that setup, which is called tertiary institution. It doesn't assist. You have to wait in every day and every night. You have to know that the reasons I'm here is not only for myself, but for my family back home, which is often what us young South Africans do. When you get out, you show that I have come out with something and build a house, like all of us have done.
Now, there's so much to fill in because that's just the start of your academic career. You then went on to become a top student. You're now a medical doctor. You're practicing in Cape Town. But those first experiences in your life have stayed with you, even in your practice as a doctor. And I would understand that during our fight against COVID-19, where we've seen the spotlight being put so intensely on the vast inequalities we're still struggling with, especially on the health front. It must really have brought everything home for you in the work that you're doing on a day-to-day basis right now as a doctor. You're still passionate about serving those rural communities and trying to narrow that a gap of inequality that still very much exists.
Yes, Marcelle. I think all of us, we owe it to ourselves and to our country to actually give back. I've been in rural areas, that is Glen Grey, Lady Fair, where I practiced for 3 years. That's when you realize that you need an extra effort in terms of knowledge, which is why I'm here in Cape Town now, furthering my studies a little bit further so that I can become a specialist. So giving back is what we all want to do, especially coming from the rural areas and Eastern Cape. There are more specialists now that are studying and coming up, which is what motivates us as health practitioners. The COVID has hit us hard. I think most of us have stories to tell about COVID. Some of us, probably all of us in the health fraternity, are fatigued. We are tired. We have had COVID. Some of us had it bad with post-COVID complications. But it doesn't stop. We don't stop. We have taken an oath to serve our people. So that's what we soldier on and continue. And I must say, I'm quite grateful to the people that we call our bosses or consultants for arranging. There is such sessions that we sit around with the psychologist where people can vent their problems. We have a lot of underlying depressions from this. Most of us have had much rest, but we are actually grateful and glad that we are winning the fight. Regardless of what happens, we are winning the fight.
Well, we can only thank you for you and your colleagues for your ongoing battle against insurmountable challenges it must seem at times. And thank you so much for telling your story in this book. That's Dr. Ntsikelelo Ndesi, and his book is called Ntsikelelo's Dream Catcher. Do look out for it on